Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Minnesota Real Estate Show. I hope your Saturday is starting off well. It is March the 2nd, 2024. We are live here down at WCCO every Saturday morning for the Minnesota Real Estate Show, hosted by Mike Overson, Luminate Home Loans, Scott Wolmering, and myself, Ryan O'Neill, with the Minnesota Real Estate Team, REMAX Advantage Plus. Hope your first March weekend is starting off well, and we always appreciate you joining us wherever you're catching us on a social media channel. Thank you. Thanks for joining us. This is an interactive show at any point. 612-294-6949 is how you can join us by phone or text. 612-294-6949. A lot to talk about today. A lot of good stuff. Scott, Mike, good morning, guys. Great to see you.
Yeah, good to be here. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Like Ryan said, this is the Minnesota Real Estate Show, and we will get into it once probably in about just a few, about 30, 40 seconds here, and we'll get into the show. Love your comments and calls, 612-294-6949 throughout the whole show. You can text us there as well. And we always put out a
to 294-6949 is how you can join us. 612-294-6949. And Scott, we got no football anymore to take us through the weekend.
Yeah, we don't. It is. We were talking on the phone the other day. It's depressing. I mean, you kind of get into that rhythm, especially now. You got it on Monday. You got it on Thursday. You got it.
Here we go. We're going live on air. Thanks, everybody. Well, good morning and welcome to the Minnesota Real Estate Show. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Hope your Saturday is starting off well. March the 2nd, 2024, and we are live down here at WCCO every Saturday morning for the Minnesota Real Estate Show, hosted by Mike Overson, Luminate Home Loans, Scott Wolmering, and myself, Ryan O'Neill of the Minnesota Real Estate Team and REMAX Advantage Plus. Hope your weekend, again, is starting off well, and you can join us at any point, 612-294-6949 by phone or text, 612-294-6949. Always welcome your questions. Don't ever hesitate to interrupt us. And again, this is a local show. It's live, and we talk all things real estate and mortgage here in Minnesota, Western Wisconsin. And Scott and Mike, good to see you guys.
Yeah, good to be here. Yeah, I was just thinking when you were talking, the other thing we've got on that website, mnrealestateshow.com, is a free market analysis that we have as a kind of a value to you. You can go in, put your information of your home on, no one's going to bug you. We'll tell you what the home is worth. It's a good way, especially in this market. Maybe you're thinking about doing something this year. It's a good way to find out what your home's worth before you enter into it.
Yeah. Good to see you, Mike. Good morning, buddy.
Hey, good to see you, Ryan.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff coming down the mortgage pipeline. Appreciate you and your team. Again, Luminate, they are a local bank here in the Twin Cities too. Luminate Bank. Where are your branches, by the way?
So we had two branches, Edina and Minnetonka. The Minnetonka branch is actually moving into our corp office building in Minneapolis there, right off of 394 and Penn, basically. So they are building out the main level of that building right now so that the Minnetonka branch can move in there. So right now it's still Minnetonka and Edina, but pretty soon it's going to be Edina and Minneapolis.
Yeah, just was talking with a team member this morning on the Minnesota Real Estate Team, actually selling his own personal house, and it's in the high 300s range, and it had been on the market one day, and he got an offer about $30,000 over list price. They had timed the offer so that the seller, he and his wife had to respond back by 10 a.m. this morning.
How do you feel about those timed offers?
It was interesting because in this case, there was a lot of other interest already. And the reason the agent was timing it is it sounds like they had a couple different properties they were deciding on, and they just wanted a response from the seller. And so our agent, the seller, was looking at taking the offer because it was really almost the best they could imagine for an offer. It had, again, way over list price, good earnest money, appraisal guarantee. It had no inspection, all the bells and whistles. So the spring market is here, guys.
Oh, for sure it is. You know, it's interesting on guaranteed, on timed offers, because I get it asked a lot, you know, from agents. Hey, you know, we're frustrated. We're in multiple offers all the time. We're going to do a timed offer. Which means, for those that don't understand what it means we're telling the seller, we're giving you this offer, but if you don't respond to it by 4 p.m. today, we're withdrawing our offer. Now that's fine. And it sounds like these people had that intention. They had other properties. They were going to move on. That does have to be your mindset as a buyer, that if that 4 p.m. goes by, that you are willing to go on, because you don't want to draw a line in the sand that you're not willing to actually live to.
Yeah, very true. Mike, do you see much of that, the timing of the offers with your agents and buyers you're working with?
Not a whole lot, but do you see it every once in a while? Absolutely, you see it every once in a while. You know, and it's I don't know. Do you think it's going to become more common, or do you think it's going to be kind of just?
It in most cases in this market, it worked out great for this, and I'm thrilled it is. But in most cases, you got to remember, everything in real estate comes from a position of power. So if you're a seller with 15 offers on a property, unfortunately, guys, they have the power. So for you to come in and tell them, hey, by the way, Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller, you're going to have to decide on this by 4 p.m. today. They're going to be like, yeah, or not. We had 14 other offers.
Right.
Yeah. So it depends.
Yeah. You can push too hard.
Yeah.
You have to push too hard. I think Scott's point's a really good one. Understanding leverage, you know, the price range you're buying in, the area, et cetera. And with that, guys, Mike, maybe give us an update here in the first segment. Mortgage-wise, how are things looking? I know rates have been a lot of the talk.
Well, so if we look last week, we were talking at, you know, about 6.875, 7%, and 7.125 as far as rates last Saturday. This week, if I just look at yesterday, March 1st, we were looking at 6.5, 6.625. You know, those were the types of rates I was locking people in at. So we had a nice dip this week. And, you know, we've been talking about it. We still think as we move forward through the year, rates are going to continue to go lower, right? And it's never a straight line. So obviously last week was at the top of a wave. This week, now we're closer to the bottom of the wave. I think as we move through, you know, March, April, May, June, we're still going to see rates trickle down. Again, it's never going to be a straight line, but could we hit 6 flat by the time, you know, May, June gets here? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Because I'm predicting in the 5s in April. So we'll see if the real estate, with absolutely no knowledge of why it would come down, actually is right. But I think it's going to be a 5 by April. Hey, I want to say hi to Joe Sorensen, buddy that I played some golf with through the years. He's also a really good real estate agent. He says, "Hey guys, great show, and go Chanhassen Storm in the state hockey tourney." So go Chanhassen Storm. Joe lives out in Chanhassen, just a great guy.
Joe is a great guy, longtime broker in the Twin Cities here as well, doing an outstanding job. Did want to give, again, an update here in the first segment, real estate standpoint. So new listings, this is some welcome news, almost a 15% year over year increase in homes for sale in the Twin Cities, 1,090 pending sales, up over last year, again, 11% increase, 11% more accepted purchase agreements. And then the overall inventory is thankfully growing, up 5% over there, still very, very low, 6,441 homes for sale in the Twin Cities metro area. And then the median sales price, again, has remained steady and has actually increased year over year. It's up 3.1% to 352,000. Very similar numbers to the last couple weeks. We're already up against our first break. We'll continue the discussion with real estate topic-wise. And Scott, what's our question of the week again?
Oh, yeah. Fun question of the week, non-real estate related, is what is your number one bucket list item? Number one thing you could do. If money was no object, anything was no object, what would you do? What's your bucket list item?
Number one bucket list item. This is the Minnesota Real Estate Show. Saturday mornings, we're here 10 to 11 here at CCO in Minneapolis. We welcome your questions, comments, phone calls, and texts. We'll be back after the break. Thanks for joining us. Good morning, Jen. Thank you. Thanks for joining us, saying hello. Hope your weekend is going well. And yeah, guys, it will be an interesting, I think an interesting next couple months. I think rates seems to drive everything, Mike.
Yeah. Yeah, you can just tell rates drifted up to around the 7, applications pulled
Stopped.
back. It did. We felt it.
Like no time I've ever seen. We've been kind of at that, forever. We were at that, 5.5 to 7%, whatever. And then we got to that 2.9% beginning of, or 2.7% beginning of 2022. And people are tweaked. I mean, that's what they've got in their back of their head. So I've never seen activity fluctuate like this over 1/4 or 0.5%. And it's already because we're, in my opinion, we're at that top of that interest rate where people are still not comfortable with it. They don't like it. And so, hey, it's 6.5. All right, I can live with that. It goes to 6.75 and the world blows up. I'm done. I'm not doing that. I think that's the human nature thing that's kind of going on in people's heads right now.
Yeah. Affordability. I think it's affordability thing.
Yeah.
Home prices are here, interest rates are here, so that's like, well, we have to get in this particular price range to get the house we want, right? So you're not going to look at lesser of houses, right? So your price range is staying the same. So now as interest rates go up, now that price range is not affordable. So now we're going to wait. Now as it comes down, oh, it is affordable. Now let's go look.
Well, yeah, I mean, I look at it as, the hard thing right now, because I have a lot of parents that come to me and say, oh, my son's renting, my daughter's renting, and I just want them to buy. And I get that. And they should be buying. We've gone through the financial reasons why you should be buying, net worth of people that own versus rent. I mean, they're not even in the same hemisphere. So yes, you should be buying. But it's like I use the analogy. If somebody came to me and said, hey, Scott, this house is worth $10 million and I'm going to sell it to you for $5 million. Best deal on the planet. Of course it is. I still have to be able to afford that $5 million. And so you go to somebody and say, why would you pay rent for $2,500? Well, because I can't afford a $3,500 house payment. I mean, that's kind of where people are getting.
Yeah, Mike had a question from, again, friend Eric Allested, great agent, broker, said the 10-year didn't move that much this week. What didn't move that much? What caused the rate drop this week?
Yeah, the PCE report on Thursday was one of the bigger drivers there. So that came in favorable to help rates come down. There was another, the BLS, I can't remember what that stands for. That was on Friday.
There's
BLS, so many,
the BLS, yeah.
All these acronyms?
Yeah, all these acronyms, the flux capacitor, was firing just right that day and stuff. But no, but yeah. So it's just, it's all economic stuff.
Do you know what the flux
there.
Capacitor is, right?
I do not.
Okay,
so
that's why I didn't know reaction.
I just wanted to make sure that, yes.
So what drives it? I mean, how do people know? How would how would Eric know? I mean, or how do people know?
The average person just wouldn't, right?
Okay.
The average person is going to look at all this and just be like, oh, rates came down a little bit. That's nice.
Yeah, that's right.
And you could be like, well, because this report and this report and that report, and they're just going to like, okay, that's what you're going to get.
Yeah.
It's the dorks like us that watch it and, and get all these, watch the ticker go, live every single day that get into it. So.
Yeah, I got a question here from Sam. Sam just said, for VA buyers, what interest rate would I be looking at as a VA buyer?
VA buyer. So I did price a VA out the other day. So the nice thing about VA, they're typically better rates, 6.25. 6.25 on a VA.
So that much better than a normal rate normally?
Yeah.
So a 1/2 point or more?
Yeah. Yep. Quarter. Depending on credit score and stuff, but 1/4 to a 1/2, sometimes 3/4.
Huh.
So.
And FHA, then how would FHA fall in that case?
Same thing. FHA is usually a little bit lower than conventionals too. So, again, dependent upon credit score. But you're looking at a 1/4 to maybe up to a 1/2 on FHA, lower than like a conventional.
Here we go, guys. We're going back live on air. Thanks for joining us on CCO. Welcome back to the Minnesota Real Estate Show. Hope your weekend is going well. This is a local and live show every Saturday morning on CCO. We help people buy homes, sell homes, invest in real estate here in Minnesota, in Western Wisconsin. Our team, the Minnesota Real Estate Team, working with our friends at Luminate, Mike Overson and his great lending team. Mike and Scott, I wanted to have, there was a question that had come in regarding multifamily and appraising a fourplex. And I was having a discussion with an agent on the team where the appraisal came in low on the fourplex. And in the discussion with the agent, I just said, it's all about the rents. So we have to look at the rents and say, how does the property cash flow? How are the numbers for that investor? Maybe help us understand from a lending perspective, when you're looking at an appraisal on a 4-unit, a 6-unit, an 8-unit building, why is that the case?
So you got to look at it. So on 4 units, unless it's considered residential, the rents really don't matter. So buildings that are 4 units and less are considered residential. You're going to be looking at sold comps. The main driver of value is going to be, what did that other fourplex, 3 blocks away sell for? And is it comparable? Is it comparable size? Is it comparable, room counts for the units, things like that. As soon as you get to 5 units, now that's considered a commercial property. That's where you're going to have the appraiser is going to do 2 calculations. There's going to be sold comps that come into play, but it is going to be driven more by the rent versus the P&L on it, the income coming in versus the expenses going out on that building.
Yeah. And so the hard thing in that, because Ryan and I were talking about this beforehand. So there's 2 sides of this. There's the appraisal, which is what you're talking about. But then there's the valuation that we do as a real estate agent. So I'll use this as an example so people can kind of walk down the road. You have a builder that built 2 fourplexes, three blocks apart. Okay, one gets $3,000 a month, the other gets $4,000 a month. Down to the nail, they are the exact same unit. Now, an appraiser is going to come in and they're going to look at the evaluation and they're going to value them at the same price. But as an agent, we're going to look at it and say, no, the one that's getting $1,000 more a month is worth $100,000 more. So there's always the rub, because the one getting $4,000 is worth more. But then you've got the appraisal, which is 1 + 1 = 2. That's the math they go through.
Yeah, I'm not sure. And I think that's a really good point, Mike. What had happened is that on the original purchase agreement, the appraisal came in low, even though the numbers were really solid. The numbers were great. And the buyer is not owner occupying the property. So that, again, they're not living there. Obviously, you could, but they're just doing it as a straight investment. So that's an interesting angle. I wonder why that's still the case. I get it because it's a residential loan, but that seems a little backwards to Scott's point.
Yeah, and I've always looked at that, and when you brought it up, it popped, because we were actually talking a little bit differently before the show. But when you said that, it popped. I always looked at it as it's like appraisers give value to above ground square footage, very little to basement square footage. Well, every once in a while, you have an incredible basement, that is worth way more, but 1 + 1 = 2. That's how an appraiser does it. But as an agent, I walk in and go, I would normally give $25 a square foot. Now I'm going to give 50 because it's exceptional. And the market dictates that. They get it. And then you run into that at appraisal.
Yeah. So when it comes to underground square footage, 15 to $35 a square foot is kind of like the norm.
That's
you can
right.
go outside of that, obviously, if you really have an extravagant basement, but you're not going to get much more than that. Getting $50 a square foot for a finished basement would be on the high side,
high end, yeah.
right? But it could cost you. You have extravagant basement. What's it cost per square foot to finish that off?
1,000 square foot basement, you're going to drop $50,000. If you have somebody do it, and think about that, that's not a big basement.
No,
that's 1,000 square feet. So what hurts people a lot of times? So let's take that. Ryan buys a house. I sell him a house 3 years ago. He finishes his basement, drops $60,000 on it, and at that time, now I look at it, and it's only worth $20,000. So he did it, and he lost $40,000.
Yeah, we guys, I wanted to give just a quick note as well. We've got today, there's actually an annual event called the Real Estate Investor Success Summit that's put on. My friend Sean with Pine Financial has done this event for a long time. Fellow investors, fellow agents, brokers attend. It's a really good event. It's actually today as we speak right now, but it's over in Golden Valley, and it's at the DoubleTree. It's from 8:30, I think, to 4 o'clock today. I'm actually stopping out today. He had asked, Ryan, can you talk about how to find inventory as an investor? And so later this afternoon, I'll be stopping out to talk a little bit about that, how to find property. But Mike, interesting times for investors.
Yeah. It's a little bit tougher to cash flow and make the numbers work when interest rates are here. If you're financing that, obviously, if you have cash, it's a completely different story. Are there still people out there buying investment properties? Absolutely. Are there still opportunities out there for investment properties? Yes, absolutely. There are. There are still some, fixer uppers, and stuff like that that people are getting into and finding and doing that. Obviously, not as much as back in the heyday when we had 50% of inventory out there was bank mediated, this and that. That was the heyday for investors back there, but there's still opportunities out there.
That's right. Hey, real quick listing to hit. Actually, an open house. Suzanne Joy on the Minnesota real estate team. You'll love Suzanne. You should head out to this open. It is 2523 Paddock Path in Shakopee, Minnesota. It is priced at $400,000. It is a Rambler. I believe, I don't have the actual specs on it, but I believe it's just a year old. Transfer or something is having a go out. But go see Suzanne today from 11 o'clock to 1 o'clock. And it is 2523 Paddock Path in Shakopee.
Yeah, again, appreciate you joining us here on the Minnesota Real Estate Show. Had another question come in. This one just said, Ryan, enjoy the show. Recently, my spouse's mom passed away after a lengthy battle with stage kidney disease. As a result, we're looking at recommendations for a financial advisor to help us with plans for upcoming inheritance. I know that you guys have had Adam Hartung and team on your show periodically. Do you personally work with Adam and his company? I've initiated conversations with Corey at Midwest Money Management. Curious how extensive your experience has been. Thanks for the question. Thanks for listening to the show as well. I have been a longtime client with Adam Hartung, probably 20 years. I have worked with him. I have referred friends, family, neighbors. My dear sister Mary has worked with Adam a long time. My brother Tim does. They are, in my opinion, the best of the best. What I love about them is regardless of how much money you have or you do not have, they treat you the same way. They've got extensive experience. They're super on it. Great, kind-hearted people. And for those of you that are all about returns and making more money, they've got some awesome programs. So I can't recommend them enough. Really good people again, they're in Lakeville. And so I have worked with them a long time. Mike, I know you have as well. Scott as well.
Yeah, I would just piggyback on that. We refer people to businesses that we like. I would put Adam and his company at the top of the list. Not only have I worked with him for 20 plus years, but all my kids, my in-laws, my ex-wives, anybody that I can put that direction. I mean, literally, I hand my kids over to him and say, "You're way better at this than I am. Go help them out." So yeah, he's incredible.
It's important to have somebody, again, from a financial standpoint. I think, again, if you're maybe a young person listening to the show and thinking about, hey, well, I don't really have any money, or I'm not at a spot where I'd ever need somebody like that. I think, again, kind of having someone on your team to help you through the process, to look at the entire picture of what, taxes, your tax situation, credit, working with a lender, all these things. Mike, I know you've worked hand in hand with those guys forever.
Yeah. The financial planning, mortgage, tax accountants, they're kind of all intertwined because you get a lot of overlap between all that stuff. So Adam has, he's obviously got the experience and the knowledge where he knows he could probably be a tax accountant and a mortgage guy and a financial planner if he wanted to, because he's that good.
And a real estate agent. I've been trying to pull him out of his industry for 25 years.
Hey, real quick before the break, we can talk about it. Do you have any advice, guys, for a new real estate investor? Any advice for a new real estate investor?
I do. I already know Scott's advice.
What's yours?
Go out, put a blindfold on, go to a neighborhood, throw a dart, hit a house, and go buy it.
Okay, buy something. What do you think, Mike?
That's what I was going to say. Scott always brings up the thing, the guy who used to call into the radio show. Yeah, I'm a real estate investor
for years.
And then, Scott asked him how many properties he owned. And he said,
he's living in his basement with his mom. And I told him he cannot call back on the show because he would call in and he would argue investment strategies and everything else. And he had not bought a property. So I was like, you cannot call back on the show until you go out and buy a home. Yeah. And he never called back on the show.
Part of the reason we do our investment property seminars every month, they're free. They're in person. We also stream them on Facebook if you want to check them out, is to help you learn the process. But that is my advice as well, is go find something and purchase, because you get the benefits of being a real estate investor by actually owning investment property. So we're already at the halfway point here at the Minnesota Real Estate Show. Appreciate you joining us by phones, questions, again, text messages, or on social media, wherever you might be catching us. This is the Minnesota Real Estate Show. It's a good question, guys.
You were talking about the state tournament?
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. The brackets are out and they're on our website if you want to.
Awesome.
Push that.
Sweet.
Yes.
And Chen Hassan's playing the very first game on Thursday.
Yeah, we had
Who's with Chen Hassan?
Very nice.
one of our listeners had
Okay.
had said give a shout out to Chan Hassan.
Chen Hassan's playing.
I have no idea.
You want to come on camera so folks can see you? Come
No, no,
on,
he's like,
no,
He's like,
no, come on. Oh, no, that was really good. We appreciate that. The heads up. Thanks. Thanks for joining us again. Social media. Good questions though about investment property, guys.
Yeah, buying your first investment property is like having your first kid. If you wait until you're financially set and you have, you got this plan in place, you got all the right. I'm going to get all this stuff ready. Then you'll never have them, right?
No.
So it's like investment property. You want to dive in, get your first one, get your feet wet, have a good team surrounded around you, and you'll be
Hey,
successful.
come here. We got to invite a friend on here. So we're on camera. You have social media. Give us a little intro. Tell us who you are and your role at CCO.
I'm Al Schock, and I'm one of the reporters here at WCCO.
Al's a good man. He's a good man. You've been doing reporting news, right?
Yes.
Sports
Yes.
every hour. Is it on the hour?
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, here he is. So what do you got? We got brackets here too.
You were talking about Chan Hassan?
Yes.
Chan Hassan opens up the tournament, Thursday's tournament, the AA, and they will take on Rochester Century John Marshall, who upset one of the Lakeville schools to get
Ooh.
there.
Nice.
And if you want to look at our at the brackets, they're on our website, wccoradio.com. I just filed it.
Nice.
And tournament starts Wednesday.
Gosh, we got no snow though, Al. We normally need like 2 feet of snow for this, don't we?
That's the basketball tournament.
Oh, that is the basketball.
Yeah,
You're right.
that's
You're
right.
right.
When I first came to town 30 years ago, someone said, always remember the boys basketball tournament snows. It snows that week, not hockey, not
That's
the girls'
right. It is
tournament.
not hockey because it's so early.
Yeah. And the boys basketball tournament is always the last one.
That's right.
And I've covered state tournaments for ever since I've been here.
Yeah.
And the boys hockey tournament's everybody's favorite.
Yeah.
And it's spectacular.
Scott was a very good high school athlete.
In what sport?
Not hockey. Not hockey.
For what school?
Bemidji.
Okay, the Lumberjacks.
Lumberjacks.
Yeah,
Yep.
Lumberjacks.
Yeah,
And the girls are the Lumberjills.
you will probably remember George Palawa.
Yes. I remember George Palawa.
1986.
Yeah.
He was a really good friend of ours, and unfortunately passed away
Yeah.
too early. But he was Mr. Hockey, 1986.
Yes, that's
Oh,
that. But
wow.
it
It was a
yeah,
tragedy.
he
It was a tragedy.
Actually,
It's a
Mike
sad
was
story.
the real athlete. Can you tell?
What did you do?
Figure skating.
Yeah.
He was a big figure skater, and
Yep. Men's gymnastics.
I was not an athlete. I made one team because they didn't cut anybody, baseball freshman year in
Hey,
high school. But I learned how to be a public address announcer when I was a sophomore in high school.
there you go.
And after I get done talking to you guys, I'm going over to Creighton Durham Hall. They're playing Como Park in girls basketball in the semifinals of the sections.
Awesome.
We got to get going.
you know,
Al's a good man.
you know what my dad said, Al? If
Yeah.
you can't be an athlete, be an athletic supporter.
That's right.
What a nut. Isn't he terrible?
I can go on forever on
Isn't he
that. one.
terrible? We'll put him in a headlock. Thank you.
Go
We
get him,
appreciate
guys.
you, Al.
You bet.
Al's a good man.
Here, and if you want the brackets, there they are
thank
right
you.
there.
We
There
got
they
the
are.
brackets for us too. Thank you. That's Al Schock again, CCO. We're going back live on air. Hope the weekend's going well. Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the Minnesota Real Estate Show. Hope your weekend's going well. Hope you and your families are able to get out and enjoy this weather. Wow, we just had a nice chat with Al Schock. Al does a wonderful job down here at CCO. Was giving us the hockey brackets, and he gently reminded us it's not snow during the hockey. It's snow during the basketball tournaments, Mike. So that was very kind of Al to bring that over to us, Mike.
Yeah, that was good. And I think Chan Hassan, right? Didn't they did they beat Minnetonka to get in there? Minnetonka was ranked 1, I think.
Something like that. And then, like Al said, one of the Lakeville, which is my neck of the woods, they got beat as well. Hey, before we get back into real estate, let's maybe talk a little bit about that bucket list question. So the fun question of the week: what is your bucket list item if you could do anything? And we'd love people to go ahead and send their comments in on this. So for me, it's easy, and you guys probably already know it. If I could do anything, cost was no issue. It would be to play the Masters.
Play the Masters.
Yeah, to
You're
play
a golfer.
Well, to play Augusta, which is where the Masters tournament is, and you can't play. I mean, unless you know a member, which nobody does. You have to have an invite to play it, and it's impossible. But that would be my bucket list item. So if you are an Augusta member and you listen to this show, which I'm sure there's many that do, invite me. I'll play with you.
Hey, before I forget, too, Dennis, we're going to put you on the spot too. You got to think about this one. So, bucket list item, Mike. We'll come back to yours. We'll come back to yours here too. We did have a question again. That I thought that was interesting, Mike. You talked about FHA rates and VA rates are better than conventional. Okay, by like a 0.5%. You said.
Yeah, depending on credit score and stuff, quarter to a half, somewhere in there.
The hard thing about it, again, as a buyer, if you are in the 450 and under price range where there's a lot of competition, again, low inventory, lots of buyers. Unfortunately, many of the sellers and listing agents don't like FHA or VA offers because it has that appraisal out, Scott.
That's right. And when you're that's correct. What Ryan's saying is you can't compete. So if you're an FHA or VA and you can get that great rate and you can get all these benefits, unfortunately, you can't buy a house because 10 offers are going to be conventional. You're not going to deal with appraisal issues and so on. So that's what ends up happening in that situation. And there's no way around it. The only way around it, I was thinking about this when Mike and I were talking the other night. So, it's a marketing thing I want to say is all of our buyers are cash buyers. And people are like, what does that mean? Well, with us, because of Mike's program, if you're an FHA buyer, you can be a cash buyer. Well, you can't because you can't convert it to FHA. But my point is you could go in and say, look, we would like to do FHA, but here's our cash offer. If you go with ours, we'll try FHA, but we can always go cash.
Sure.
I mean, you might be able to get something through that way. It's still hard because, again, that's another little thing that if you're the seller, why would you mess around with it when you've got other cash offers? But that can happen.
Yeah. So the program is great. So it's our cash offer program. Basically, once we have someone pre-approved on our end, we'll go buy the next house for them with a cash offer, and the client gets to pick, here's what we want to pay for it, and here's the close date, and do we want an inspection or not? You get to pick all the terms, but when the offer goes over to the seller, it's a cash offer in our name. We'll go buy that house with cash, and we just sell it back to our pre-approved clients then for the same price that we bought it for.
And it's really a transfer back. I mean,
Sure.
it's not like you're marketing the property when you sell it. It's just it's a way for them to get it. And of course, there's a small cost associated with it. But I'll tell you what, it's the best thing I've heard to be able to fight against being able to get houses for your people that don't necessarily have 20% down or paying cash.
Yeah, I want to give just a little shout out. I know my mom has been a long time CCO listener and listener of the Minnesota Real Estate Show. My brother Dan as well. But this week, guys, was the 20-year anniversary of our dear father, Bob O'Neill, passing away. He died on Leap Day. So on the 29th, we say Dad leapt into heaven. But 20 years, guys. So it's every 4 years. So he's only had five anniversaries of his death. So that's interesting. If you were born on Leap Day, and I was talking to my brother Tim, and he said, if you are born on Leap Day, you have to go left or right. Either you've got to pick the birthday on the day before or the day after.
Huh.
So it's very interesting because you think about it. You're born on the 29th. You're like, well, what? I only get a birthday every 4 years, because so you got to go left or right.
So, all right, we'll talk about that after the show because I'm not tracking that. But that's
so the 29th only happens once every 4 years.
Oh, that's right.
February 29th.
That's
yeah.
right. That's right.
So what happens? Like you go to the casino, it's like coming on your birthday and you go in that cash booth when they swirl it around, right? So you can only go there once every 4 years because if you go there the day before, the day after, it's not technically your birthday.
Well, I never thought about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is so you have to declare. We're used to declaring now. So now you just declare this is my birthday.
You want a February birthday or March?
Yes.
You got to go one or the other in those other 3 years.
Go ahead and declare it.
It is an interesting, very interesting situation. But again, you think about it, every 4 years, having a birthday, 612-294-6949 is how you can join us. I had a question about value of square footage. What would you guys say, comparatively above versus below ground square footage? What do appraisers give, Mike?
Well,
Above ground?
Go ahead.
Above ground, the door is wide open, right? You get into, places on Minnetonka, on Prior Lake, your above ground square footage be what, $500-$700 a square foot.
Yeah.
You take that same house and you take it off a lake and put it on a quote unquote normal lot or something. Now your square footage is 300 or 350. I mean, the above square footage just ranges so much. The below square footage is where it's more of a box. You're looking at 15 to 35 is generally where you're looking at. You can stretch that up to 50 if you get a really extravagant basement, but not much more than that.
Yeah, and what we're talking about is adjusted method. So, for example, I don't want to tell you to throw price per square foot out because it's a variable. You can look at it. But for example, we did 56 teardowns. We basically built the same house with different front elevations, but it was a 4 square, front living room, kitchen, blah, blah, blah. They're the same house, 3,500 square feet, 815,000 to 107 or 1,000,007. Same exact house. So price per square foot doesn't matter a whole lot. From an adjustment standpoint, under $500,000, I typically give 50 above ground and 15 below. 500 to 750, 75 above ground, 25 below.
Yeah. So the hard thing about it, as a homeowner, if you're finishing your basement or doing different things, upgrading your property, just be sure to talk to an agent, have him or her help you look at if you're wondering about value and those types of things, because that can really impact things. Had another question about Mike, about title fees. What's the small cost amount regarding title fees? So when you're buying a property, again, as a buyer, you have an option to get what's called an owner's policy of title insurance. So that is an optional cost that you pay to the title company that will insure you for title issues. And so that is something, again, what they call an owner's policy that's optional for the buyer at closing. The lender's policy, Mike, is not optional. Maybe talk about that.
Yeah. So if you get a loan on a house, you got to buy your lender's title insurance policy. That's going to be required. But like you said, Ryan, the owner's title insurance policy is optional. All lenders are going to quote you both, right? Here's what the cost for this one is. Here's what the cost for that one is. They put it on there. You can literally decide at the closing table if you want to have that owner's title insurance policy or not. So you can go all the way up to the day of closing. You can keep it on there. You can take it off right there at the closing table if you want to. But it's typically cheap, covers you for the entire time you own the house. Most of us are going to say just pay the one-time small fee and don't worry about it.
Yeah, and specifically, just to clarify on Eric's question, I think what he was asking the question about was when I was talking about the buyer program, there's a small cost.
Oh.
So I think he might have been piggybacking, what's that small fee or what's the cost of doing that?
Yep. So our cash offer program, if you don't have a house to sell, so basically if you're a non-contingent buyer, you're just out there, you got your conventional 5% down buyer, and you're just losing out to the cash offers, and you're losing out to conventional 20% down offers. If we go do our cash offer program there, the cost is 1% of the price of the new house.
Yeah.
If you are a contingent buyer, so if you do have a house to sell, the nice thing about this program is we only have to qualify you for the next house. We don't have to qualify you to carry 2 houses or anything like that. But because you have a contingent sale coming up after we close on this cash offer, we might hold it for a little bit longer. The cost is 1.9% of the new house.
Yeah, which, I think about it back in 2022, this wasn't offered then, but I used it 10 times. I just used it with parents. So the parents were going to buy it for cash and then the kids were going to refinance. The only way to get them houses. So this program, I hope people are really understanding it. If you're out there right now and you are frustrated, you've been losing out on offers and you just want to buy a house, this is a great program. So definitely reach out, apply with Mike.com or mnrealestateshow.com.
Yeah, again, thanks for joining us. The Minnesota Real Estate Show every Saturday. We're here 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Bucket list. What's on your bucket list? The one thing you want to do yet in your life. We'll talk a little bit more about that and the real estate market here on WCCO. Good stuff. Jen, we had a nice comment. Jen said she wants to go to Hawaii for a month. That would be nice. That would be nice. Really nice. Love Hawaii. Mike, you been to Hawaii?
I have been to Hawaii. Yep, a couple times.
For a month though?
Not for a month. No, absolutely not.
I would love that.
It'd be sweet to be there for a month, but the life is not going to let me stay there for a full month.
Who? Jen? Who?
Jen, I just on our social media, Jen Donne.
Donnie.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Very cool. Yeah. Hawaii's beautiful. What about you? What's yours?
My bucket list thing?
Yes.
All right, bucket list thing. So this has been in my list for a long time, so it's easy for me. So I want to go to a different country where soccer is the biggest sport. So like Brazil, Mexico,
Spain.
I don't want to go Europe because I don't think they get crazy enough there. I want to go to one of these games where literally like fights break out in the stands, people are getting crazy, there's beer bottles and all this stuff getting thrown over. Like I want it to be wild. So I want to go to this crazy Major League Soccer game where it's just nuts.
Just to experience it?
Yes. I don't want to necessarily be in the middle of the fights and the bottles being thrown and stuff like that. I just want to watch all that unfold.
So when are you gonna go?
I don't know. When
You
should we
should
go?
do it.
Well, yeah, book a flight and go see a soccer game.
Just go do it.
Go to where would you go?
So I got to research like which two teams dislike each other the most and where are they playing at? Like where's the rowdiest
What's
Major League Soccer?
The potential train wreck.
Yes. I got to research that and figure out where that is. But that's what I want. I want the train wreck of train wrecks of Major League Soccer.
It's kind of like a Packers Vikings rivalry.
Yes.
On steroids.
Yes.
For soccer.
Yep.
So what about you, Ryan?
I got to think about it a little bit. I'll keep mulling it over. He likes to throw these at me. Here, we did, again, looking at, questions, whether you comment on the social media stream or 612-294-6949. Had actually another question here, guys. This one is just about projection, about values. Do we think values are going to dip here in 2024? Any dipping of values, guys?
Not a dip.
I laugh at that.
Yeah, not a chance. Not a chance.
I mean, look at our inventory.
Yeah.
We're at 6,400 homes right now. Literally, when's the last time that we've hit 10,000 listings? Can you remember?
Well, I remember it was 2022 where you and I had predicted that we might hit 10,000. I think it got to 9,600 for like a week, and then it was back down to 7,500 again.
Yeah. I remember the first time we got down to 10,000. We're all just like,
this is crazy.
Oh, this is crazy. It's so low. And then we've hit 5,000 listings a few times since then, and it's like, and we've never got back to 10 for years.
No. I mean, I remember the busiest year besides 2020. Well, besides now in 2022 was 2001. We had 11,000 homes, and I was a relatively new agent. I've been, 3-4 years. So we'd never seen multiple offers, and all of a sudden, my gosh, everything you put on, because there was only 11,000 homes, everything had multiples on it.
Mike, for appraisals, thinking about how far back can a appraiser go if they're not finding comparables? For example, how far back can you go?
I mean, I've had jumbo loan appraisals go back 24 months.
Yeah.
So 20 longer than that ever?
I mean, not that I can remember.
And how about area? What if there's no other properties around it?
So I did a $2.1 million house in Annandale, on a lake in Annandale, and they went 42, 43 miles out to find
just
comps.
to find something.
Wow.
Pulling comps from Lake Minnetonka, pulling comps from what's the if you go west of there, is it like Sugar Lake or Big? There's some sort of like little lake area there closer to Alexandria. They're pulling comps from too.
Yeah, Sugar Lake. That's a nice one.
Yeah.
Hey, welcome back to the Minnesota Real Estate Show. We're talking bucket lists. And Dennis, we've let you off the hook so far here. We're talking about one thing you want to do before the end of your life. What do you think, Mr. Dennis? What do you got on that bucket list?
I want to marry Taylor Swift.
That's
or any other rich young thing that'll happen.
Taylor Swift. Well, maybe we can, maybe somehow we'll reach out to her people and say, look, we're on WCCO. We're going to set you up. We want to introduce you to Dennis, Mike.
Yeah. Forget about Travis Kelce for just,
Well,
a
but
weekend or
if
two.
I look at Dennis and Travis Kelce, that's not even a contest.
Right.
I think it would be kind of fun, though. It'd be kind of fun.
I've
We're
actually
bucket list.
met her twice,
See?
and she is about 4 inches taller than
Oh, wow. Well, Dennis, every woman's 4 inches taller than I am. So I feel your pain. Hey, I want to give a shout out to Vinny Schumacher. is listening to
Vinny.
is listening to the show right now. He is actually a friend of my son Aiden, and so he's 20 years old and listening to a real estate show. Good for you, Vinny. Let us know when you want to buy your first house.
Yeah, again, buying your first house in this market is possible. Be sure you're working with a good agent. Be sure you have someone who can help you through the process, that understands multiple offers, that has good relationships with other agents and brokers in the Twin City, because it does matter who you work with. It matters who your agent is, Mike. It matters who your lender is. Not all money in real estate is created equal. What we mean by that is a pre-approval letter from lender A and lender B may not be perceived the same way by the seller who's accepting your offer, Mike.
So I got a classic example, and we're going through one right now. So Marie Rivard on your team, Ryan, and I are working with a buyer. A few weeks ago when we submitted the offer, we were not the highest offer on the table. Listing agent came back and said, look, you guys are not the highest offer on the table, but we want to work with you guys because we like you guys better than this other agent, this other loan officer team that submitted this offer. So we're going to accept your offer. And it just goes to show it's not necessarily the highest dollars that win. Sometimes it is the team around you, and it's real estate's it's a small world. Everyone knows everyone.
Yeah.
Every agent has had experience with all the other agents. If they've know an agent, they've had a good experience with previous offers with that agent, that can go a long way.
Well, and besides that, here's the easiest rule of thumb I always tell sellers or people. If you don't like your agent, either does anybody else. So, I mean, if you are literally like, I don't really like her, or I don't really like him, but she does, or he does well, or whatever, other agents don't like them either. So in a market where you're going to have to compete and you're saying, well, fine, we'll accept what's her name's offer, but I don't want to work with her. That's the normal thing. Now you got 15. Now you don't have to. You can go to plan B, plan C, plan D. So so make sure, if you like them, probably other people do, and they'd be willing to work with them.
Mike, are you seeing many buy downs, people buying the rate down of your deals? What % are buying rates down?
Less. Every single interest rate out there is basically quoted with one discount point. That's just kind of the industry norm right now. So on top of that, are people paying extra on top of that to drive the rate down? Most of the people, I would say no. Most people think that rates are going to come down, so I'm not going to spend a bunch of money right now to buy the rate down. I'm going to wait for the next 12 to 24 months to come around when rates do go down into the 5s or even maybe like the 4s that Scott thinks they might hit in the next 24 months. And then that's, if I want to drive it down even further, that's when I'll pay the points and get it down further.
Maybe talk a little bit for people. This might get a little bit complicated, but for people from a qualifying standpoint. So if you do a 3-2-1 buy down, so rates are at 7, you buy it down to 4% for the first year, you still have to qualify at 7%.
Correct.
On an actual buy down, rates are at 7%, and you actually have them buy it down to 5.5%. Then what do they qualify at?
You qualify at the 5.5%.
And that's a big thing to pay attention to, guys out there. If you're in that part where you're just teetering because rates are too high, you can do a buy down to a rate that actually lets you qualify for it.
And why is that, Mike? Help people understand that if they didn't follow. So why is it different?
Yep. So the 3-2-1 buy down that Scott was talking about is a temporary buy down. Your payment is temporarily lower, but once you hit year 4 through years 30 on that loan, you're going to be at this monthly payment, right? And so it doesn't make sense to qualify you based on the absolute lowest payment that you start out with there, because what happens when year 4 comes around? If you can't afford year 4, we're going to take that house back, and no one wants to go through foreclosure. No bank wants to take it back. So you're going to qualify based on what that long-term payment is. On the permanent rate buy down, you're permanently taking your rate from 7 down to 5.5% in Scott's example. So now you got 5.5% for the entire 30 years. Well, your payment doesn't change there. We qualify you at 5.5% then.
Yeah, guys, it has been a fun show. Again, every Saturday, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. we're here. Last thoughts, guys, before we part here today, Scott?
I want to hear your bucket list item.
Bucket list. I think it would be fun to go back to Ireland. Would love to take a trip back with the family back to Ireland. And while we're there, swing over to Europe and meet the Pope.
I knew there'd be something with the Pope in there. You had to get the Pope in somehow.
The Pope.
Got to meet the Pope.
Yeah.
Would you go fishing for the Loch Ness Monster too?
Hey,
or no?
Let's do it. Maybe we'll meet Taylor Swift. I'll bring Dennis with. We're traveling together. Dennis would be fun to travel with. I'd like to go with him.
Last thoughts before we wrap up here. Mike said, applications have gone down because of a little bump in interest rates. That's going to settle in. Folks, get your applications in, get squared away, get ready to go, because it is going to be it's going to be a busy spring.
Mike, last thoughts?
Yeah, reach out to us. I mean, our cash offer program, it's gaining steam every single week because we are getting into a little bit crazier of a market as we move forward here through the spring. So the lower rates get, a little bit crazier it's going to be because more people are going to be jumping into the pool. So reach out to us. The right real estate agent, the right loan officer can make all the difference.
And next week, the Pope is actually going to be calling in.
Yes. I mean, I won't take his call. We have kind of a thing but Brian can.
Hey, we help people buy homes, sell homes, invest in real estate. We've got a top agent wherever you're listening to the show here on WCCO, mnrealestateshow.com. Hope everybody has a great weekend. Enjoy the sunshine, this record warmth. Take care. Fun show today. Thanks so many for joining us on air. Mike, Scott, nice job. Mike, you got your Quest cookie. You ready to dive into that?
That's right. I'm going to eat this on the way home. It's going to be so good. Can't wait.
Quest cookies. Thanks again, everybody. Have a great weekend. We'll see you on the night.